done stepped in the game? At point blank range, who done stepped in the game? At point blank range, who done stepped in the game? Stepped in the game, stepped in the game.
It's been a while, so I'll get right to it. Google Plus etiquette, if there is any. Apparently, people with large followings on Google Plus tend to think that they can actually control the feeds they create, the stories they create, the posts and threads that they create, and they tend to think they can control the flow of how that works. If you have a controlled message to make, disable comments. That just makes sense. So if you decide that you're going to make a comment about something, let's just say it's about a gaming platform, and you don't want anything negative to be said about a gaming platform, or anything negative to be said about the view regarding that gaming platform, then you should disable comments or disable replies to any comments that you decide to make that you don't want to be, how can I say this, called out. So if you make a comment and I reply, or anyone else in this case, of course, this is me because I'm the person that's bringing this out. So the short story is this. Someone with a large amount of followers on Google Plus, well, a decent amount, I would say, probably because of their, I won't say their gender, but because they are a rarity in this industry, decided to make a post regarding a certain topic about the pros and cons of Windows 10, which of course would pique my interest because that is what I do on a day-to-day basis, is manage enterprise installations of these type things for various entities, usually with 3 letters or something to that effect. So I had input regarding it. The feature that was in question was regarding a quote-unquote benefit for the Xbox One pointing to Windows 10. And since that benefit was there, apparently that's a boon for Windows 10, even though Windows 10, for most users that are going to purchase it, they're going to purchase the home version. And I recommended against that in that thread, and I was subsequently basically blocked from that thread because I told said truths. And those truths, for those that were in that thread and subsequently could not read it to hear everything that I had to say, was that Windows Home Edition doesn't have the benefits of the home editions of Windows 7 and Windows 8 to some degree. And I wanted to make that clear. Even though there are a lot of benefits to Windows 10 going forward, there are certain things that Microsoft is locking down that I did not like, and most users probably will not like with regards to that. That being third-party patching of, say, security software. The default is Windows Defender, and unless you have an enterprise version or a pro version of Windows 10, you're going to be limited somewhat in getting that done. Obviously, there's ways around everything, but why should you have to jump through hoops just because Microsoft doesn't want you to? The other thing is that any type of networking, be it group policy or any other type of features that you want to add to further lock down Windows, app locker and things like that, you have to purchase a enterprise or a pro version for that. Most users buy Windows machines that come with a pre-coded license for Windows 10, and that is usually the home or the home business version that they get from these machines OEM. So that is the issue that I have, is that a lot of these people are going to be looking for this one benefit that this one Google Plus user and minor YouTuber decided to point out. And that's not for the benefit of just having this one Xbox One feature that should have been part of the console to begin with. And that feature was having to worry about uploading stuff to OneDrive and stuff like that. You could automatically send stuff directly to your PC if it's a Windows 10 PC. But that should have been a feature that should have been easily done. or it should have bypassed all that altogether and went directly to YouTube like the Wii U does. But that's neither here nor there. Just because I started pointing those things out and I had my reasons, somebody else in the thread other than the person in question decided they wanted to try to convince me otherwise, or wonder why I was saying the things that I was saying. And I was saying the things that I was saying because, being an expert on this, because I do mass deployments for a living, I saw those as detriments, and they are huge detriments for whatever type of custom installs you want to do. And the majority of people on Google Plus are typically nerds anyway, especially with the way they talk anyway, talking about tech and specs and things like that. So you would figure that nobody would just do a regular home install or just buy a PC out of the box and leave it as it is, because that would be kind of hypocritical if we're all supposedly nerds and we do our own custom things. So with that being said, I decided to point that out for the people that are, gearheads or whatever. They would either look for the enterprise version of Windows 10, or they would skip Windows 10 altogether, kind of like what I do. I only use it in a virtual environment and not on a physical machine, until Microsoft irons the kinks out and they start listening to people and start fixing things, kind of like how they did with Windows 8.1. To see a back and forth, and you're complaining about the back and forth because you're pandering to your followers, who would then get notifications that the thread was still ongoing and there was a reply. That's part of Google Plus. That's the reason why you have Google Plus. Is so if somebody's talking about a topic that you were talking about, you would get notifications if there was an update on it. So if you're a Google Plus user, why would you complain about a topic that somebody posted, and that it's a topic from another time, or it's a topic that's 2 days old or something to that effect? Why would you even make a topic replyable if you only want to post stuff as immediate consumable content that subsequently is going to be deleted or is not going to be relevant, just going to sit out there in the ether? What's the point of even posting them? That's a legitimate question, by the way. So, individual, you know who you are. I'm not going to be evil and post names and things like that, because that's kind of childish and ignorant. But that is a legitimate concern for a lot of people on Google Plus, and people on YouTube in general, that tend to delete videos after confrontations are had and stuff like that. I'm like, the internet doesn't disappear. If you delete a video, 9 times out of 10, somebody else cached it somewhere else. I typically record a lot of videos on that are on YouTube, because HTML5 makes everything easy, and HTML5 also makes things easy for people that quote unquote block you on Google Plus, or mute per se. It only mutes on 2 ends, and those ends assume that you sign in. So if you don't sign in, and you sign in as a, how can I say this, a user agent of a different type, you can still see everybody's username based on their ID number assigned to Google Plus. And it doesn't matter which handle you had or what security cookie that you had to see them, you're still able to see all of their posts. So yeah, Google Plus and HTML5 is definitely smarter than its users. And unfortunately, even though they use it to, how can I say this, mask whatever their agenda is, or whatever their particular, the way that they want their environment to be run, it is not your environment. It is still a web page that everybody contributes to on the internet ether, and it's on massive amounts of servers, and it isn't really secured the way that you think it is. So by blocking or muting someone, that doesn't necessarily stop it. Specifically, I mean, like, the layman could really just create another account and be done with it. Or, like me, I can just pull up the HTML5 code, see what your ID is, and keep moving from there. And I can see every comment that you've made with that ID. And I can still see your content and still follow you, if I wanted to. Person like me, really, I don't care. Because if that's what you're doing, then I already know what you're about. And that just really exposed yourself, really. You just really kind of told me exactly what you're trying to do and what type of agenda you're trying to push here, a controlled one. And Google Plus is not about that type of control, unless it's about protecting personal information. Not, I only want the topic to go this way. Selective news, part duh, if you will. I don't know what it is about these big YouTubers, But there are some that have posted multiple articles about Phil Spencer recently at Gamescom and things like that, and a bunch of different interviews. None of those YouTubers talked about what Phil Spencer's positive comments about Wii U and Splatoon were, though. Review Tech USA, where's your comment about Phil Spencer and Nintendo? Because you made 2 videos about his other 2 comments that he made during interviews, so where's that one? And for reference, for people that don't know, Phil Spencer basically said that first party is the way to make money, and that Nintendo is doing the right thing, and we need Nintendo, and Microsoft from this point forward is going to be a first party focused company, and anything they do with third party is going to be strategically placed. That was the majority of the interview that he gave. That's really important information because it tends to contradict a lot of what everybody else is saying about the industry right now. You would think that a lot of people would be pointing to that because that's drastically different in stark contrast, and it kind of points out how Phil Spencer is trying to buck trends that were otherwise normal. I mean, and he's an Xbox figurehead, so a lot of people liked him for a lot of things that he did to fix everything that Diametric effed up. So I wonder why the IGNs and GameSpots of the world aren't posting that over and over again on social media like they were with the other comments. Or ViewTech USA, because he made 2 videos on the other 2. In relation to people liking to use one company as the whipping boy of the industry, if you will. So people tend to talk a lot of crap about Nintendo for, it seems almost like no reason at this point. There's the whole, oh, well, they don't have third-party games thing, and you need to understand what the definition of third-party means. That means somebody other than Nintendo. So as long as Nintendo has games that are not made internally by NCL, by EAD, or any one of those studios, then they are third-party games, and therefore they are ultimately available for Wii U. And there are several of those. Out of the 600 plus titles available for Wii U, yes, there are 600 games available for Wii U. So if you say that the Wii U has no games, have you bought all 600 of those? That's a lot of money. That's roughly $36,000 worth of games, if I'm not mistaken. I would really, I think that's pretty much what that is. So why would you say something like that first? Because 600 is a large number and it kind of makes you look stupid. But I'm fairly certain that Nintendo hasn't even published or developed more than 100 plus of these games. So by far, the vast majority of those games are third party. So still, there are more third party games than there are first party games on Wii U. That's pretty much commonplace for every platform, with the exception of maybe the Virtual Boy because of how that turned out. But the Wii U didn't turn out that way, and it sold quite a bit more than the Virtual Boy, and there's a lot of games out there selling a lot of copies. So why would you go out of your way to say something ignorant as that? And I guess the thing is, they'll go out of their way to say these negative things about, say, Splatoon and how it doesn't have voice chat and things like that. But yeah, I need to go follow them on Friday because they're doing a live stream about Splatoon, because they're playing Splatoon. And then I look online, and their level is higher than mine in Splatoon. And I love Splatoon, by the way, and I have no complaints about voice chat because I know common sense. You don't have time to do voice chat in a 3-minute match. Then we have other complaints talking about how bad it is about the no game situation, and whenever you want to talk about it directly, nobody really wants to mention specifics. When I say, hey, well, what in particular is your issue with voice chat? Well, I just think they should have it. Well, why? Well, so we can have strategic plans to do whatever, and I'm like, online? And you have enough time to do this? What exactly are you going to tell somebody online in Splatoon that you actually have time that that person can hear you and react to? I don't think you do. So That's just really, really weird to me. You complain about features you don't really need, live streaming, things like that. And then, when I talk about the technicalities of it, nobody wants to go further on it. I wonder why that is. Things like, you know, I'm jumping into a stream and not a video, but every video is a stream since the advent of DVD. There's a video stream and an audio stream. Perhaps you should look up how digital video is produced before you make such, I don't know, ignorant claims in a chat room on a live video. When you attempt to correct someone over the internet about something, perhaps you should have a background on it before you're able to argue or make your case. I know that a certain individual, Mr. T is a person that probably deals in video on a daily basis, and for him to say, or him to hear anything like a video is not a stream, would probably have him laughing. The only other problem I have is, apparently, there are issues that need to be hashed out, and they need to be hashed out one-on-one on somebody else's channel so they get all the views, and they're going to moderate it with that one person and somebody else. I don't think that's a good idea. I think what the good idea should be is that everyone involved shows up in that chat. It doesn't matter who moderates, personally, because I'm going to be on the other end. And whatever your issues are, you actually talk about them, all of them, and put them all on the table, and be very specific about what it is that makes you so upset. This whole unsub thing or whatever that people were talking about and assuming or whatever, I'm trying to figure out how I unsubbed, or somebody claimed I unsubbed, when I can still see all your content, and all you have to do is go look at your subscribers on YouTube or Google Plus and see who's still following you and who is still subscribed to you. It's pretty simple. And even if you couldn't do that, Google Analytics will pull it up for you too. It's not that difficult. That's how I knew who my last 4 unsubscribers were. They were bots for the most part, for other people that tend to follow me so they can debate against me. That doesn't surprise me at all. Talk about the issue and not the person. Instead of trying to sling insults and say things like, oh, the tech troll, talk about what would make you use a bloated ad hominem like that. Why would you resort to a logical fallacy like that instead of addressing the original issue? It just seems to me that would be the adult thing to do. Specifically of somebody in a profession that is a tad bit more militant. You would figure that some types of behavior were taught. And if that behavior is taught, then you would learn how to deduce a problem down to the lowest terms and resolve it. Not run away from it, not laugh at it, but actually address it. I'm willing to do not the one-on-one, but the one on 5, 6, 7, however many people it is that actually have an issue. I have a strange feeling that there's only very few, and they've already expressed themselves in certain ways, but they tend to go around and dance around it instead of directly talking about exactly what it is. And whatever the issues you have specifically of me, then you probably need to address all of them directly to me. And not talk about anybody else, not talk about, oh, well, this person that's not associated with that group said this. No, I'm associated with a group. There's something you had that I said that offended you. Then you need to talk about it and explain why in detail. If you can't explain why in detail, then you don't really have a problem now, do you? Considering that you guys want to be left alone, you are all about logic, keeping it gaming, then perhaps your behavior, or how can I say this, the activity on Google Plus and YouTube chat should reflect that. Otherwise, you're just as emotional as everybody else and just as exploitable as everybody else. And trying to do what you're trying to do is nothing more than a meager cry for attention. I know this is a rhetorical question, But seriously, do you play games to have fun or to impress other people?